Hello, this is What It's All About, and in this video we've got a very special review with Mike France, one of the co-founders of Christopher Ward. Obviously, I'm sure you're very well aware that they've had a rebrand within the week, and it's been quite controversial for some people to think that they've been able to do such a massive rebrand without any, letting any of their customers know and just doing it straight out. I think many people have been scared of the change that has come around from it. So very much appreciated that Mike has taken time out of his busy schedule just to discuss their rebrand, what we can expect going forward, and the reasons behind it. So I'd like to introduce you now to Mike France. Hey, Mike.
Hi there, Josh. How are you?
Very well, thank you very much. And you okay in your busy schedule? Everything's going all right?
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoying a bit of sunshine through the window as well. So
Yeah.
all good here. Hope you're well.
Cool. Yes, very much so. Thank you. Are you at CWHQ at the moment?
I am. I'm in the boardroom at the moment. So
Cool.
without a cup of coffee, I'm afraid.
Uh-oh.
So we may get interrupted as someone brings me one if they remember.
Yeah, that's all right. I wish I had someone to bring me a cup of coffee. Send our regards to Chris and Peter as well.
I will do.
Cool. Okay, so I've got a few simple questions lined up just for you to clarify. Some questions a lot of customers have about the rebranding. So first of all, then,
Yeah.
can you just explain the reasons behind the rebrand?
Yeah, very simple, really. When we merged with Synergy Horloger in July of 2014, we had created a very different business than we had been for the prior 9 years. Suddenly, we had an atelier in Biel in Switzerland, as you know.
Yeah.
Half of our workforce and colleagues were now Swiss, and the confidence of introducing and being the first British brand to introduce its own in-house movement at that time really meant that one of the first things we did post the merger was sit down as a newly formed board and think about how we expressed this new business and the confidence we've got in this new business into the future. And one of the ways in which we knew we wanted to do this was to relook at the brand proposition, which now had more elements to it in a sense because of this unique vertical business that we created. And it is worth noting, I think, that when we set out in 2004 with the idea of Christopher Ward doing something different in the watch space, probably at that time, if I'm absolutely honest, we had no idea whatsoever that one day we'd have our own atelier.
Yeah.
We'd be capable of making our own movements, and therefore the concept of the brand has moved so far in that time that it felt appropriate at that point to start thinking about how we then communicated the brand into the future.
Okay, so it sounded like the merger with SH really kick-started this rebranding.
That was very much the catalyst, Josh. Yeah, that was very much the catalyst.
Okay, cool. So did they have much say in it, or was it all done within Christopher Ward?
Oh God, no. It's a company-wide and indeed included many people from outside the company, including quite a bit of research that we did.
Yeah.
And so I don't. You're probably very familiar with brand propositions, and I don't know how many people are, but this isn't. I know the logo clearly gets a lot of attention, but actually, in many ways, it's an important element of any brand proposition. Certainly, an important element of ours, but it's only a single element. The real meat and drink of a brand proposition, as far as we're concerned, as a company and as a brand, is to make make sure that it's true to the real values that we hold dear as an organisation and as a brand. And therefore, the starting point for this was to just re-examine and reiterate all of those things that are most important to us. Ultimately, the process of going through a brand proposition is a distillation process. So you start with those core values, and they get distilled into communication, both visual and in print, that helps hopefully to communicate what your brand is about. So if you're starting at the base of values, you have to make sure that those values are shared by the entire organisation. I'm pleased to say that it was a very, you can't do this exclusively. You have to do it inclusively. So everybody inside our organisation, and as I say, quite a few outside it who are close to us, who are partners with us, were involved in what was probably about a 15-month process in total.
Wow. Okay then. So it's been going for quite a while.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, it's you cannot do this sort of. Well, I suppose you could do it by shooting from the hip, but no, this is has been extremely well thought through, and it's taken a lot of effort by a lot of people to get it live, as it were.
Okay. Well, thank you for explaining those things. Just looking at the Christopher Ward forum, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, there does seem to be, a fair amount of negative comments toward the logo. Now, I don't know if it's because the people who like it or don't mind it haven't been bothered to comment on it because they're just like, okay, the logo's changed. Whereas the people who don't like it are obviously more inclined to comment. But what are your thoughts on the amount of comments on the logo being a bit plain? I think personally, I think the key issue people have is the fact that we've changed from a serif font to a sans serif font, because the serif font was very classy, and now we're going slightly more modern with the sans serif. I think that's the key issue people have had. So I don't know what your thoughts on this feedback you've got so far.
Well, I'm not going to try and convince you that we're anything. We'd love everybody to love everything we do. Therefore, every single negative comment, hurts a little, doesn't it? I mean, some of them, some of them, I think, don't hurt as much when they're not clearly constructive. But there are a number of well-articulated, constructive comments from people who haven't immediately liked the new logo, and that's disappointing because we would love everybody to like it. What we know, of course, is that our inboxes reflect a different reaction as well. So, and there are some negative responses by email to us as well. But the overwhelming response by people who've contacted us directly is incredibly positive.
Okay.
Not just about the logo, but about the entire rebranding. But let's talk about the logo change. I know, as I said earlier, it's an important aspect, but it's but far from the only aspect of the rebrand. But because it's possibly the most, and it is the most obvious, it gets most attention.
Yeah.
And you're quite right. I think, whilst not everybody has articulated as well as you have the sort of the change from serif to sans serif, actually that change is very important. Why have we gone that route? I think even yourself, Joshua, sort of thinks it's a move towards minimalism, which it isn't in the slightest. What it is a move towards is clarity and readability and scalability. And why that's important, and why we think why we ended up going the route we've gone down, which is a Swiss-based font, which has actually got strong English roots, which I'll come on to in a second.
Yeah.
Is because the font that we've got is one of the most readable and scalable fonts that's ever been created.
Okay.
We've bespoke it slightly to make it even more printable, down to the smallest size we will ever print our name is 7 millimeters, which is quite small by. And what often happens, and if you closely examine most watch brands dials, and including our own current one, when you get down to quite small scale, as is often necessary on watches, fonts can become less readable because the inkwells fill up with print. So what we've done is we've actually bespoke this font so that the inkwells have been chiseled out even more, so that the font renders really clearly, even down to that minimum 7 millimeter scale.
Okay.
But the font itself is not nobody would describe it as minimalist. It's really described as you rightly pointed out in I think your post, that it's sans serif, but its roots are based in Edward Johnston's 1930 design for the London Underground.
Okay.
So the font's name, and I'm not sure we've published this yet, but is LL Brown.
Yes.
It was created by a team of I think Zurich-based font designers. It's become one of the most award-winning designs of recent times, because it has become one of the most readable. It's viewed as one of the most readable and scalable designs out there. The fact that we want back to this merger, us merging with Switzerland, we also were very attracted by the fact that this is a Swiss-based font, and the Swiss are, anyway, as I'm sure you're aware, renowned for creating fonts. But significantly, it was heavily influenced by Edward Johnston, and the reason that Edward Johnston was appointed, I think, by the London Metropolitan Railways back in the early part of the last century was because of the need for people to be able to read easily and well the signage that the London Underground has become very famous for. So this is a font with a real history, but moreover, it has a real purpose to allow people to read very easily. And one of our design values is all about making sure that function is always considered in the process of design, so that we don't just, as we say here, gild the lily with design, that we actually think about what the purpose of the product and the watch that we're designing is. So it's back to the brand proposition becoming part of the way we do things. It's not just a document that sits in a drawer somewhere. This is a document across every aspect of our business, whether it be customer service, design, movement creation, that has a purpose in helping us bring more consistency to everything we do, so that we live up to the values that we find really dear.
Okay.
So it's quite it is a significant shift. The other significant shift that's been noted is the removal of London.
Yes.
And again, back to very, very close to what we try to be here. It's for others to judge whether we succeed in this rather than us. But we set out to always try and be straightforward, as transparent as possible, and as honest as possible. And whilst we started this business and I remember it well, it was not that long ago.
Yeah.
Started the business in an office in Soho Square in London.
Yeah.
And I always remember the first Malvern designs that we were playing with at that time, which would probably shock a few people if we showed them now. And we incorporated the business at that time in London. But for some considerable time, we moved our head office to Berkshire. Yeah. And it has not sat well on our shoulders for some time that we are claiming to be a London-based brand in our logo, and therefore when the opportunity came as it has just, as I say, at the time of the merger, to review the branding. It just felt absolutely right to us that we should reflect that in whatever new logo type we decided to go for.
That makes complete sense. Because I think reading on the forum, some people have commented about that anyway, that technically you aren't a London brand anyway, so removing it, as you rightly said, is the correct way to go, really.
I hope people understand that, and as you say, I think people are beginning to. And then what's also clear is that there's before you came on, I was talking to Suzanne from our PR company. I've just responded to a chap who had sent me an email about three or 4 days ago, and he was a good customer of ours and has bought many watches in the past. And whilst he was very pleased with some aspects of the rebranding and loved, say, the new magazine and all that sort of good stuff, he was not very happy at all about the change of logo. He sent me, when I woke up this morning, and sadly I'm one of these people who does have his iPhone by the side of his bed, so I'm able to look at his thing.
That's like me.
Well, I don't know how many people like that, but probably far too many. I do apologise.
Yeah.
But one of the first emails I looked at was from him, and he's been thinking about it, he's been looking at it, and he's now absolutely fallen in love with the new logo to the point that he's just bought a new C65.
Oh, okay.
So I do think, and this happened when we introduced the CHR Ward logo as well. There seems to be an arc where understandably for some people, change of this magnitude is very difficult.
Yes.
And some will maybe never like the brand change. But many people seem to, with consideration, feel more comfortable. And time is also interesting as a healer of some early concern.
Yeah, I think the sudden nature of it has surprised a lot of people. So I think that's with time, maybe some people will come to appreciate it more. And I know I have. After considering it for a few days, I'm starting to see it in another light. So I'm sure it'll happen
I
for
think
many other people.
I mean, we have the benefit. You're quite right, Joshua. We have the benefit of having lived with it for a good while.
Yeah.
And I think you're absolutely right. We should keep in touch, and we will keep in touch with everybody on this, and they will definitely keep in touch with us, which is fantastic. I can't tell you how lucky we are to have people who are so passionate about our brand that they feel these sort of feelings, and so many of them offer really valuable stuff. And already some of the suggestions that we've made, we're already looking to incorporate because nothing ever stays the same. Things need to keep developing. So, of customers, fans of the brand, talking and telling us about the view all option on the site, and therefore, we left it, we built it in to the new site. Wanted to test the journey, which is loved by many, by the way. But why shouldn't we be able to give people an option? And that's exactly what we're doing. And that will be up live in the near future. And that's thanks to the responses from the fan base. So we're really appreciative of it.
Good. Whilst we're talking about the logo, on the front of Loop magazine, we have a very nice alternative, which is like a semicircle located at 12. Why is that?
Oh, right,
why is that being shown? Could that be used in the future, or?
Well, yes, but not in that form on the dial. Again, we're quite. We try to be quite open with what we show people. The shot on the front of the magazine is some early shots we did. I don't mean photographic shots, but shots of actual dials where we were testing out scale of the logos. the Christopher Ward, which I think, as you say, is at 12 o'clock in a sort of an arc, is something that will be, and this is although there's an allusion to it in the magazine. Your listeners might be quite interested to hear again about where the brand development is moving. At the back of our watches, we think that this sort of a representation of brand is more appropriate because it's about information. It's not about branding on the back of a watch. It's about information. Yeah. We also think that the areas such as rotors, rotor arms, etc., could benefit from this sort of representation. Yeah. So already in work and to be released in the autumn, we have a number of watches which will incorporate different elements of the branding, including, and we're very excited by this, and nobody will have seen any of this yet. You'll notice on the cover of Loop, and you'll have seen it throughout the magazine and some adverts that we've now got out there, and also on the front of the website, the kind of twin flags, yes, stylized design. Mm-hmm. That clearly is a representation of a stylized representation of England and Switzerland, Britain and Switzerland. Yes. The St. George's flag and the Swiss flag. What we have done as well with Hello, who I must say we think they've done a brilliant job, and they don't deserve some of the stranger stuff that people have been doing, including, would you believe, sending a death threat.
Wow. That's quite serious.
I think it was tongue in cheek.
Yeah. You'd hope anyway.
They've created this as a repeat pattern, which looks absolutely stunning when translated to bridges and rotor arms, and it creates this signature, a different way for Christopher Ward. You know, everybody, most people, including us, has historically looked at things like just straightforward Côte de Genève, etc. Mm-hmm. We wanted something that really was an ownable signature, and this repeat pattern representing the both sides of our business, Switzerland and England, will become featured on our watches as we go forward. Okay. So and including the crown, because I know some people have quite, wondered about the crown. We are in development at the moment. We're working on how we integrate elements of the new branding into a crown design. So again, you'll start seeing some of these things as we move through towards the end of 16 into 17.
I was going to mention actually, because the new C65 Mark IIs, they have a plain unsigned crown, which for some is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, because absolutely right. We haven't when that went, because you'll know the lead times for creating these things is quite long. We hadn't got the signature crown using the twin flags quite right. So we decided, rather than put the CW on, which wouldn't be appropriate, we would leave it blank. And actually, there was a strong debate about whether we should leave all crowns blank, but we decided ultimately no. We wanted to incorporate the new branding into crowns in the future. So you'll see some new crown designs that, again, I think are quite interesting and different, and again very much a Chris Ford signature look coming through. I think the first ones are probably towards the end of 16, and more coming through in 17.
So when the crowns are all developed and you're happy, will they be added to the C65 Mark II, or is that how it is from now on with the unsigned crown? Just out of interest, really.
We haven't made that decision whether we retrofit. Yeah. Very possibly, Joshua, but I don't know. We haven't made that decision yet.
Okay. I mean, yeah.
The reaction to the C65 has been fantastic without. So, that's something we'll decide later.
Just another point you were mentioning about the repeatable pattern with the flags is is that likely to feature on maybe the bridge of the SH21 movement? Is that something you're planning on doing with it in the future then?
Yes, it is. We will be announcing a fairly significant sort of relaunch in some ways of SH21 in the autumn, incorporating some of these features into rotors and bridges. And as I say, it's I think people will really appreciate both the uniqueness of it, but also the establishment of something very sort of appropriate for that movement.
Yeah. Okay. To some, it may appear that your customer base is slightly altering, because obviously the way it was before, almost the slightly more mature market, whereas now it looks like you're aiming for a bit more of a younger market. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Is that true or not?
I suppose the average age of our customers has been since day one 42, which isn't that old.
Yeah.
What we certainly want to do, and this is a key for the future success of the Christopher Ward brand. I think it's also true of any watch brand. Is we need to make sure that new people to the brand are excited and buy into what we're about. And we know, we believe, and the research we've done seems strongly to suggest this, that Christopher Ward is an excellent entry point for anybody, no matter what age. But let's say on average they'll be slightly younger than me, coming to mechanical watches or proper watches for the very first time.
Yeah.
And we have a really useful place to play, I think, in that part of the market, and it seems to be much in demand. So that's always been in our heads. What we're doing is not particularly targeted at a young audience, because we're talking about quite classic things here. I know some people may think the logo is modernist, but actually it's an incredibly classic logo.
Yeah.
So we're targeting the same people, but yes, we want to excite people who are coming to mechanical watches or proper watches, good watches, fine watches for the first time, and bring them into the sort of the fold, as it were. And we think they will respond very well to what we have just done.
Okay.
And the early signs are that is true, but it's a long way to go.
Yeah.
Hey, we may have got it all completely wrong,
Okay.
It's always possible.
Yeah. Thanks for commenting on that. So just one final question. You've touched on it a little bit throughout the conversation, but what can we expect then in the coming months up to in 2016?
Yeah.
Obviously, if there's something top secret, don't feel like you have to share it. But just what can your customers expect in the coming months now that we've got the rebrand?
Well, yeah, it's a good question, and as ever, there are a number of things in development which will be launched through the rest of the year. The most significant will be the launch of the relaunch, if you like, of SH21 in a new complication.
Ooh.
Which will be a power reserve complication.
Okay.
Which we will likely be launching at Salon QP this year. The Moon Phase we launched at Salon QP last year, as I think you'll probably remember, and that worked very well for us and for Salon QP. That most brands don't launch new products at Salon QP, but we think it's the right venue for us, and therefore that's when we will show in the metal, as it were, the new S821 complication. But and this is new news. We have for some time been developing a new case for our premium dress collection.
Okay.
That will be the case that surrounds the Power Reserve SH21, and that will be that will see the light of day for the first time at Salon QP in November. So it's a very exciting launch for us.
Yeah, so something we can all look forward to in that case. Yeah, brilliant.
There are other things as well, and over the next 18 months, as stocks allow, we will be looking to move ongoing products into the new logo design. Okay. So there will be success, and we'll obviously be giving people notice of that before it happens. Mm-hmm. But by design, it's going to be I would think an 18-month to 2-year process. We'll try and do it as quickly as we can, but we're not we're still a small independent company, so these things need to be managed carefully. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us, Mike. I think.
My pleasure.
I think for many people, it's a case that you guys are quite a modern company. You're very dynamic, and that you have the balls to do something like this. Because many people would say, "Oh, Omega, Rolex, they would never do anything like this." But your company, Christopher Ward, is a different kind of company altogether. So, I think going forward, many people will come around to it. And if you think about it, someone like Oris, they have a very simple logo, which is a sans serif font. So, many people respect them and view them as a quality watchmaker as well. So, it's not completely outrageous when you sit down and think about it. I just think many people it's the shock, and once there's some time behind it, people will eventually come around to it. I'm sure about that.
Well, I really do hope that's the case. I think it will be, as you say, and it is the shock of the new. Yeah. But by the same token, as I say, we do feel genuinely privileged that people care enough to make such passionate cases. Yeah. And we're not immune. We're not in some ivory tower. I think anybody who thinks we manage and edit things that go onto our own forum probably have been disabused of that. We just ask people to try and be constructive, and because we want to listen, we do listen, but we also have and I have to say, we have our own points of view, and it's a sad world when we all agree on everything, in my view, and we are trying to push as hard into the future as we possibly can. We don't get everything right. There are going to be things that we will want to amend from and learn from some of the things we've done, but there's a huge amount of excitement as well about the future of this brand, and we'd love to take everybody who's been associated with it forward into that future. We may lose a few, but I think we will hopefully gain an awful lot more, and that's what it's about for us. It's about creating something really uniquely different in a market, in a sector that can be very conservative.
I agree with that.
We see, and I've always seen one of our roles as being a brand that pushes at the edges. Yeah. It's just the nature of us, and we always try to be true to ourselves. It's for others to judge how well we do on that, but we'll never be less than insincere in our efforts. I can guarantee you that.
Okay, well, once again, thank you very much for this time. We've taken plenty of time out of your busy schedule, so I'm sure watchers of this video and listeners will greatly appreciate your honesty in these matters, and not hiding away from anything. So we really do appreciate that. So thank you very much, Mike.
And thanks for the opportunity, Joshua.
Good.
Thank you. It's appreciated.
Cheers.